Hey, this is Jamey from Stillmeyer Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanisms in the digital game Dicey Dungeons. Some photos here of what the Dicey Dungeons interface looks like. I can say that on a printed piece of paper here, it doesn't look all that fancy, but the aesthetic really does work well in the game itself. This is similar to Slay the Spire, kind of a deck building roguelike game. Although you aren't really building a deck. I don't know if deck is the right term at all. Rather, you're rolling dice and placing them on cards. And your deck isn't really a deck at all. Rather, you equip yourself with different cards, and those cards are all in play when you enter an encounter. And this is one of the things I really liked about the game. You're not kind of going through a random deck of deciding which abilities that you have. Rather, you are entering an encounter knowing exactly what abilities you have based on how you've equipped them to yourself. You see over here that I earned some other abilities. I currently have decided not to slot those in. I'm going to slot in some, I want to slot in these abilities right now. And then in the game itself, these are the abilities represented on the board. You'll roll some dice and then place those dice on your turn on the different abilities. Most of them are just one-time use, and they'll activate and they'll deal damage to your opponent. You're trying to deal damage to the current opponent that you're playing. And it's a solo game. I'm not hurting. I'm hurting the AI, not any other humans. It's not a dueling game. And then after I'm done doing that, the opponent will go. That's how the core of Dicey Dungeons works. The thing that I like the most about Dicey Dungeons is just how much a sense of progression you have in the game and how quickly you feel that sense of progression. For example, there are ways, one, you get new items. So you get new stuff that you can choose to use for each battle. You get new stuff, that's great. Also, there are ways to, the stuff that you get can be different sizes. So even though I start out with this card, what was this card? This was the sword. This sword is big, but later on I may be able to get a smaller sword so I can I can basically carry more cards into combat. I also might upgrade a sword that I already have, making that sword smaller, making that sword stronger in terms of how it hits or how many times it can hit. I imagine at some point that I'll be able to update how much stuff I can hold itself. So this space might actually get better too. You can also upgrade the number of dice that you roll. So you only start off with one die. It's a very easy decision point. You have a few options, but you're only rolling one die. And quickly you're rolling like 2 dice and 3 dice as you level up. Just the sense of progression felt really, really good. Even during, I didn't get that much farther than the tutorial in terms of the hour or so that I spent with the game. But even during that time, I felt like I was constantly getting more and better stuff and making stuff so much better as I played. And yeah, I like the system itself, the core system of kind of rolling dice and putting them on cards and having the cards not be random at all, knowing going into a battle which cards I'm going to have. I like that. But the progression itself is what felt really good to me. And I was impressed by, even in that short play, how much variety came through in these cards, both in terms of their abilities, the abilities that my opponents had that were fighting against me, and how much sense of progression I had in terms of those abilities and how I was using dice, what I was using dice for, and how many dice that I had. There's probably stuff that you know. If you play Dicey Dungeons, there's probably stuff that you know that I don't. Feel free to share it in the comments. If there's other elements of progression and engine building that you'd like to share there, I'd love to hear about it. And to any table, this was recommended to me because people know that I'm a tabletop gamer, and feels very much like a tabletop game in digital form. So if you like this style of game, I highly recommend checking out Dicey Dungeons. I had a lot of fun with it. I probably will continue to have fun with it. I don't play many video games, but this is one that I'll definitely continue to play casually from time to time. Those are my thoughts on Dicey Dungeons. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite mechanism is in Dicey Dungeons, or if this reminds you of any other game that uses a similar mechanism. Thanks.